This podcast is recorded on stolen and unceded Aboriginal land.
We acknowledge the First Nations and elders of this country and join their calls for justice. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land.
I have actually consumed some US election content because I've been enjoying the impressions of Kamala Harris videos.
Oh, I haven't seen those.
You haven't seen those? I just want to say thank you. And it's been I don't know, she laughs a lot. I can't do it very well, but they're good.
Well, I liked in her concession speech, she was just like, guys, everything's going to be fine. I was like, I thought this guy was a fascist. What the fuck are you talking about?
That's really good. Glad to hear it. A bit confusing. But
well, the best take that I've seen thus far is from Joy Reid on MSNBC. She was a classic Democratic establishment figure and commentator, hated Bernie Sanders. When Bernie Sanders was doing well in 2020, she was like quite emotional on the television going, Democrats, we have to stop this. We have to sort this out, and we have to stop the man who's actually going to do something to improve people's material conditions.
Okay. All right.
But she's still a big fan of Kamala Harris, even though she fully lost. Let's see how this goes.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that was true yesterday about how flawlessly this campaign was run is not true now. I mean, this really was an historic, flawlessly run campaign. Queen Latifah never endorses anyone. She came out and endorsed. She had every prominent celebrity voice. She had the Taylor Swift, she had the Swifties, she had the Beehive. Like, you could not have run a better campaign in that short period of time. And I think that's still true.
Come on,
Why are
mate.
Americans like this?
Fuck off. It was flawless. It was a flawless campaign, except for the bit where they lost everything.
Where they lost.
That was a bad part of the campaign, but the campaign apart from that was like pretty flawless.
Yeah. And that's made no less true by the result. Still flawless. Still flawless. The objective of election campaigns is not to win, silly. It's to get those sweet, sweet celeb endorsements.
It's to get the endorsements of Queen Latifah and Taylor Swift.
And whoever gets the most endorsements. That's actually, I don't quite understand the US Electoral College, but I understand it has something to do with your level of, B-list, A-list celebrity. They have different number of votes and it all counts towards,
yes,
their version of the Logies, and then they have a committee and they form government. Is this something like that? Am I getting this right?
If you can pick up enough brat votes in the Electoral College, then that does actually translate to winning the White House.
Yeah, okay. All right. And they're worth more. Yeah, Beehive vote worth more than a Swiftie vote, as I understand it.
How are you feeling as a Swiftie? I mean, not only did Kamala Harris, the Democrats, lose and the world's fucked and America's over, but, Swiftie fans such as yourself have been deeply humiliated, I'd say.
Yes. How could we go wrong with a Swiftie endorse? So did Taylor Swift, what did she say? I hope Kamala wins. I'm voting for Kamala or something.
She did do an endorsement. She did an event, but she said, yes, I'm letting you know, everyone, that I'm voting for Harris and Tim Walz this election. Yes.
Yeah. No surprise. She's supported the Democrats before. Like I said, I've been on a little bit of Taylor and I are taking a break at the moment. We just need some space. And maybe we'll come back to it. We have a strong connection. We'll always have that strong connection.
Sure.
We're consciously uncoupling right now.
Wow. Well, I can't wait for her to write a fucking song about it. Jesus Christ.
The Greens continue to demonstrate their irresponsibility over and over again, but I would say this to Australians. First, remember what AUKUS is about, assuring the peace. It's about deterrence to assure the peace.
We're stuck with the hosts of Chapo Shithouse podcast.
Serious danger to Australia.
Hey everyone, it's Serious Danger. Another wonderful week for progressive people.
In politics.
A wonderful time.
All good news.
Talk about what's going on. We talk about green politics in Australia, where it's not going great. Green politics in the US not going great. It's not an official Green Party podcast. It's produced by Michael Griffin and made possible with help of the Green Institute. I'm Tom Ballard. That is Emerald Moon. I am back in Naarm, Melbourne, and the lands of the Wurundjeri and Boonwurrung people. I'm back in my little house. It's nice to be here. How are you, Emerald?
I'm good. I'm in Manjin, Yuggera and Turrbal country, last remaining Green seat in Queensland Parliament. Very sad fucking news this week. But I understand, there might be some good news coming out of the US election. I don't follow these things too much, but I'm really excited. We're going to be joined by our American pal. Dave Anthony from the Dollop podcast has been on the show before, but not with me. So he did the co-hosted with you, I believe.
Yes, we were talking about the midterms back in 2022, and Dave is a brilliant podcaster and comedian, and very cynical and angry. I'm very excited to see exactly how he feels about this news. I think he'll be like, I saw this coming because everything's fucking cooked and the Democrats suck, which is a pretty reasonable take.
I get that. I gather that's the vibe. But in news that maybe we didn't see coming, Labor cutting student debt. We're also going to discuss that. Maybe that they may be wiping it if they get reelected upon certain conditions.
Some of it. They're going to be wiping some of it, maybe, if they get elected.
Yeah, some of it and maybe. That's right. Before we do that, we should thank our new patrons. We have some lovely new subscribers to our Patreon. Ari Encarnism, lovely name, Thomas, Benjamin, Rebecca, and Julia. They have signed up to support the show, pay Mike's wages, and get access to wonderful bonus content like our latest Patreon episode where we did another installment of Paddy Manning's Inside the Greens. We're chatting about the 1998 election and the Greens just generally trying to get their shit together. Can't relate. So thanks to everyone who signed up.
Yes.
If you like the show as well, you should come and see us live. Our fucking New South Wales live shows are 2 weeks away.
2 weeks away, baby.
Yes. 2 weeks away. The Newcastle show is sold out. Thank you. That is freaking incredible. People might have seen in the news this week the Supreme Court decision that says that they don't have a permit in place effectively for like protest action for the blockade, but they have confirmed the People's Blockade will go ahead. It's still perfectly legal to paddle out, to, be there, to gather in a public space, etc. It just means that, as per usual, if police issue a move on direction, you will need to do that or face arrest. But otherwise, it's perfectly legal. It is going ahead, and we will be there at the Newcastle Comedy Club on the Saturday. And then the Sunday, we will be in Sydney. There are still a few tickets left to this. And we announced last week, in case you missed it, very special guest, comedian, writer and satirist Mark Humphreys will be joining us there. That's at 1:30 p.m. at the Vanguard in Newtown. We're very excited about that. So please get your tickets for that before it sells out. That's at seriousdangerpod.com. And if you weren't already convinced, I have a very special announcement to make, dear listener. We've got an exclusive offer to those attending our live shows this month, which is a new round of merchandise, Serious Danger Podcast merchandise.
What?
That's right. I'm super excited about this. Friend of the show, former guest and incredible cartoonist Sam Warman has drawn us a lovely little design. We have got tote bags with that design and also stickers. We've got a bunch of new stickers, and we also have got hats with a special new design. We'll post them on the social media soon once they actually arrive, but they are getting printed as we speak, and they'll only be at the live shows. They will probably, it's like small runs, so they'll probably sell at the live shows before they, if any, end up going online. So come along and grab some there.
Yay! Very quickly before we move on with the rest of the show too, wanted to check in and say that the council election results for Victoria are still coming in. They are still not totally clear. All the results are going to be finalised by Friday, November 15th. So you might have heard some or seen some news stories about stuff trickling in. We're hearing some good and bad stories for Victorian Greens in some of those results. And it's also infuriating. It's very hard to find all the results in the one place online, for fuck's sake, which I really hope the VEC sorts out very quickly. But last election, we elected 36 councils across the state. That's in 2020. This time around, we've run 124 candidates. So far, we've won 6, which, but, again, that's just mainly dependent on the results a lot of the results being very close, and a bunch of them haven't been announced yet. But we've got like Olivia Ball back in the city of Melbourne, which is good news. Mary Beck incumbent Mayor Adam Pulford has been returned, which is great. The negative stories we're hearing is that some in like inner city, northern parts of Melbourne, where you would expect the Greens to be doing well, where we've had lots of Greens councils before, things are not going great. The Yarra Council, for example, which is the first Greens majority government in Australia in 2020, is looking pretty bad. We had 5 councillors there. It looks like we're only competitive in 2 more candidates, incumbent Mayor Edward Crossland and the incumbent councillor Sophie Wade. That is still too close to call, but it's not looking great. And a big part of that is a result of this sort of pretty forceful anti-Greens campaign that was run by Stephen Joly and the Yarra for All group.
Yeah.
We could possibly lose a seat in Darebin. We've lost 2 seats in Monash. That's from the councils leaving the party because of a bunch of toxic stuff going on. We're still competitive in other wards in Merribeck, but still competitive there. The Lord Mayor, Nicholas Rees, has been returned with 23% of the vote. Our candidate, Roxanne Ingleton, came in second with 14%.
Okay.
Nicholas Rees, do you know Nicholas Rees?
No.
Does that ring a bell?
No.
So he's like a Labor advisor for years. And then he got elected to the city council in 2016 with Robert Doyle, who is a fucking Liberal. And he was elected on Team Doyle to the Melbourne City Council under the Liberal banner, even though he's Labor sort of advisor. He was Labor advisor to Rudd and Gillard. And he's also a regular commentator on Sky News. No good.
Wait, what the fuck? Cool. I love people who clearly just don't actually care about anything at all. That's awesome.
I think he's presented on Sky News as like, this is the left-wing
the
guy.
Lefty.
This
Yeah,
is the
right,
center.
right. Yeah. Clearly really cares.
Anyway, more results to come. Love and congratulations, solidarity to everybody who puts their heads up to run for these things across the board. We definitely will win a bunch more council seats, but those full results will be clear next week.
Oh my God, I will vote. I will vote. I will vote for Donald Trump.
Let's talk America. Dave Anthony is our guest. He's a leftist comedian. He's co-host of the history podcast, The Dollop and the Past Times. Most importantly, he's a goddamn proud American. He loves his country, and so he should. It's a good country.
I love America.
He joined us on the show in 2022 where we were talking about the midterm elections. Those results were insane. These results are insane. Trump is the president. The Republicans are back in power. And Dave's back on the show. Hello, Dave.
Hi.
How are you?
Everything's fine. Hey, I'm good.
The bratness has failed. The vibes are bad.
The bratness has failed.
There is no bratness.
I still think it's a little bit of a brat winner.
A little brat. I mean, that's true, actually. Was Kamala... I should say, Dave, by the way, I know nothing about US politics, so I'm ready to learn.
Oh, God.
But in terms of brat, I feel like Trump gives more brat vibes than Kamala.
He just might. Yeah, I think you might be right about that. He's got
you
a
think the
brat
brat
in him,
has transferred from Harris to Trump? He's adopted the brat.
Perhaps.
He was born in the brat.
I would pay money for them to ask him if he was a brat guy and just see what his answer would be.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
How are you? How's it all going? We were arranging this interview. You told me you bought a gun. Tell me about that. What the fuck's going on?
Yeah, I got a little while ago. Thanks. I mean, look, I live in America. It is a gun crazy country. So much so that it's almost like a cult in that sense. And now there's been a right-wing takeover, and I kind of saw it coming. So, I did that a little while ago because you can't, in California, you can't just go buy one off the shelf like you guys probably think you can. You got to take a test and you got to wait. There's a waiting period. They got to do a background check. It's really dumb. It's just like, should you leave a baby with a gun?
Right.
Like it's
depends
like
whether
that.
you respect the baby's rights or not.
Thank you.
Right?
And that's why I said, that's what I said. I said, is the baby in danger? Give me more of the scenario. So it's stuff like that. So yeah, I got a gun because we don't know how this is going to go. This could be just a right-wing takeover where they're completely happy to just have it like it is, or it could be Pinochet. So, I have maybe a different philosophy than most people, and that's if I'm a leftist, loud one, and I'm in a podcast, and I've seen a list that I'm on, a few years ago. So if they do send out their little private guys, then I go away, and maybe one or two of them go away. That's kind of how I think about it. Like I'm not going to your fucking.
Just kidding.
I'm not going to your torture camp. I'm not going to anybody's torture camp. So yeah, it's all satire.
Yeah.
But that's like the reality of the situation. Like it could be that bad. Might not be. Might be just terrible. But they also could do really bad things.
Which would be worse, really, is the question. Just a
That's a good question.
slow burning death, or out with
Get
a
it
bang.
over and done with.
Yeah.
I mean, were you
True.
particularly worried about the idea that if Trump was to lose and then wouldn't accept the results, and then, like that was certainly when people were like, oh, shit could actually kick off. Remarkably, he did win, and there was no electoral fraud at all, which is like really weird.
Great system. Yeah.
I mean, look, there was tons of fraud. There's always fraud. They probably stole 1 million or so votes. It's what always happens. The way the system is set up right now, Democrats have to get like between 55 and 60% of the vote to win. Because there's so much suppression of votes. So, that's built into the system as of now. I think it would have been, my biggest concern was that she would eke out a win just barely over days, and they'd be counting the ballots over days, and then they'd say she was a winner, and then they'd start shooting people. That was my biggest concern. This was my last plausible scenario, was that he would crush. And so now I'm not as concerned about violence because I think they're super cocky and happy. Yeah. They're like, we're not scared of you guys. We kicked your butt.
Yeah. Great.
Do you mind telling us if you did vote, and if so, who you voted for?
Okay, so I live in California. So this may surprise you, but I haven't voted for a Democratic president since 1988.
Right.
Who
because
was
my
that?
vote doesn't, it was Dukakis, who I actually campaigned for. Like I would go out and pass out stuff and knock on doors. And that was the last time. And I haven't since, because my vote in California doesn't matter. There's so many Democrats that it's not a direct vote, right? So the state, they pick their person, and then that's who, we go with. So my vote isn't direct. It doesn't matter. So I haven't voted for a Democrat in years. So I voted for some socialist woman. I remember her name.
So not Jill Stein, not the green one.
No, not Jill Stein. I have problems with Jill Stein. I think at some point you just got to go, this seems to be about you a little bit. Seems to be a little bit about you.
Interesting.
But I like some of the stuff she's for. So there's some stuff I'm just like, there's some flags going up. And I'm very, very much on like, let's just, if we're socialists, just say you're a socialist now and just throw it up there and go, this is how many of us are here, just so you know. And I think a lot of socialists don't do that. So I think we should.
It's true.
If you're in a swing state, would you have held your nose?
You know what? I can't answer that because I really don't know. I'm so disgusted by the Democrats. And I know a lot of people in those states couldn't bring themselves to vote for them. So I can't say. I really honestly can't tell you that.
Man, I've just saw this quote doing the rounds, which is, I'm sorry, I don't know the source, but they were saying, if you ignored Harris's position on the genocide and to vote for her, you already know what it's like for people to look past Trump's racism and misogyny and horrificness as a dude to vote for a policy, like to weigh those things up, to vote for in your
so
ideas.
how can you say, I just can't believe, I don't understand.
Right.
It's really interesting that, they can put themselves in their shoes, but not in the other person's shoes. And all that stuff that they say is kind of the exact same the other way. There's a lot of people, Democrats don't understand how much they are disliked. they can't, but their whole thing seems to be like, well, if you know who I am, you'll like me. And if you listen to me, and it's like, that actually isn't how it works.
You might not like me, but have you seen this other guy? Yes. Yeah, we really have. Like,
I have.
People have seen him for a really long time, and the idea of just yelling about how bad he is does not seem to have worked this time around once again. So
it didn't work last time either. It's here's how I would describe America. If it was a household, it's like an alcoholic household where there's an abusive dad, and he's abusing the kids, but as the kids get older, they hate the mom because the mom didn't protect them. And that's what the Democrats are.
Okay.
That's the Democrats.
That is bleak.
I mean,
they stand for betrayal.
Let's not go into that metaphor too deeply.
She should have bought a gun like David and sorted some shit out. Anyway.
But that's really how it is. That's really how it is. I don't think they quite understand how much people feel betrayed and angry at them for not helping. and here we are. I mean, this is exactly what all of us crazy leftists were predicting years ago. We're like, this is exactly where it's going, and but we're the bad guys apparently. So what are you gonna do?
Let's talk about what happened. I mean, we're recording this on Friday afternoon, Australian time, and I'm sure people's podcast feeds been filled with all the various takes and people watching the news, they're across it. But generally, it was a crush indeed. You need 270 electoral college votes to win. Trump is currently on 295 to Harris's 226. Arizona and Nevada are still yet to be called. Both of them very likely to go Trump. So it is indeed a landslide electoral college-wise. Republicans have won the White House, the Senate. They're almost certainly going to win the House of Representatives, so it's unified government. Trump won those big battleground states, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. The electoral map is almost identical to 2016, like it's kind of insane, except this time around, Trump is winning the fucking popular vote, all right?
Yeah.
He's on 72 million. He won 74 million votes in 2020. Harris is on 68 million votes. That's down from Biden's 81 million in 2020.
Yeah.
So it's a redo of 2016, except Trump is even more popular relative to Democrats this year. I mean, I still don't know whether it's like more shocking to me than 2016. I guess it shouldn't be shocking at all because of all these material reasons. But I'm just like this is, we're still allowed to say this is fucking crazy, right? Is that okay?
Yeah. I mean, it is crazy. If people were listening to leftists, they wouldn't think it was crazy because this is what we've been saying was going to happen. You can't do nothing. You can't just keep doing nothing and promising things.
Just a question. What were the policies, if any, that the Democrats took to the election?
I don't know.
Real question.
I don't know. I know she was going to do, she was going to offer for people who are on Medicaid and are in home, I think they were going to pay for like a helper, like a person to be there.
That's the... Oh my fucking God.
Well, her biggest policy was she wasn't Donald Trump. So remember that, guys.
Oh, right, I mean, that was her policy. I commit to remaining not Donald Trump. I will not reconstruct my identity and transmute into Donald Trump's persona.
But the problem with that is like you're saying that while we're watching dead babies every day.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's got the ring there. You're just like, okay, but I literally just saw another video that makes me want to crawl into a corner. Like, it doesn't work. And also they were really running on like, this is democracy at stake. You have to back these people. We got to keep all our systems in place. We got to keep our good things. And nobody believes in it.
Also, like the systems that's working for who?
Right. That's the part because they're pretty much the professional class now. They're not the working person's. So things are working for them. They're just not working for anybody else. So they say this stuff and everyone's just like, yeah, this sucks. Everything sucks. Like it's not good.
And it really, plays out in the demographics, right? So Emerald, a lot of the exit polling and stuff, people earning over $100,000, like Harris wins. Hands down, like wealthy people on higher incomes, the people for whom the economy and the status quo is working quite well were flooding to the Democrats' direction.
This is my second question: is what was Trump offering? Because I understand that the take is that he offered economic relief. What is that economic relief? What was he offering?
So here's a big problem, and this was always going to be a problem if you ran someone in Biden's administration. Trump gave people a much better existence because the pandemic came and they pushed through all this money for people. They pushed through.
Oh, it's from when he was in power. That's what he's being rewarded for. Yes.
Right. So people were better off. I was better off 4 years ago. Tons of people were better off. And it's not just money. So these people got unemployment, like the highest unemployment they've ever gotten. 20 million people were given health care and then it was taken away by Biden. So when he ended the COVID emergency order, slowly over the next 6 months, 20 million people lost their health insurance.
Great.
So also student loans were stopped, and student loans here in America are it's like the mafia. You can borrow $50,000 and then that bank sells your loan to some other company, and then you've paid off $75,000 and still owe $49,000, and everybody acts like that's fine. So all these people are just being destroyed by these crazy criminal banks, and Biden unfroze the loans that were frozen because of COVID. So all of these terrible economic things were inflicted on people by the Biden administration. Or if you don't want to say that was Biden, well, that was Congress. No, okay, under Biden, this all happened. But he did take away the emergency order. And then on top of all that, COVID is still here. COVID is still harming people. It's still killing. It's not killing as many, but it's killing people. It's still doing. And Biden, when he went in to get elected during COVID, because that's why he got elected, was because of COVID. And he was like, I'm going to put in OSHA regulations, so workplace regulations about COVID, so people are safe at work. And then he got in and he went, go back to work. Fuck you. And so they didn't do anything. And so that's the kind of stuff where you're just like, okay, so fascism is bad. What? Who am I? I'm going to be worse. What? Like it's been terrible. Like they've been a egregiously bad administration on top of already an egregiously bad party that doesn't do anything. This is my favorite. They passed a prescription drug bill savings act for 30 drugs. I think it was 30 or 32. 32. One of them, which included insulin, would now just be $35 for people on Medicaid. Not everybody. And then that's not going to go into effect until 2026. And so they're running around going, we dropped the price of drugs. And everyone's like, no, you didn't. My drugs are crazy expensive. I'm driving down to Mexico to get my drugs. What are you talking about?
Stupid.
But they act like they're like, we did this thing. And everyone's like, yeah, no, not only did you not do the thing, but you just saved the price of 30 drugs, and there's thousands of drugs. So you're literally telling more people to go fuck themselves. Like, it's baffling to watch. You just don't know what to say.
The disconnect between the economic message and the actual lived experience of the economy under Biden and Trump is definitely a factor there, right? I mean, people say, inflation's terrible, incumbents are losing everywhere, but you're like...
But here's the thing. When I was in Australia, you guys all talk about the cost of living. Yeah. It was across the board. I wish that was the case here, because here, if you said, I'm not off as well financially, the Democrats would scream at you are, and throw graphs at you.
Totally. Yes. I mean, this is Branko Markotic in Jacobin. I thought this was pretty instructive. For many loyal Democrats, this will not compute the idea that the economy is bad. The Biden economy, party-loyal pundits have said over and over again, is tremendous. Low unemployment, strong GDP growth, slowing inflation, a booming stock market, and anyone unhappy about it must surely be brainwashed. Out of view in this self-congratulatory hall of mirrors were the constant statistics that said otherwise. Evictions up past pre-pandemic levels, record high homelessness, cost burden renters at an all-time high, median household income lower than the last pre-pandemic year, inequality returning to pre-pandemic levels, and food insecurity and poverty growing by large double digits since 2021, including a historic spike in child poverty. Food costs increased by 35% since 2020. So that's what people were experiencing. And I think this is relevant for Australia, Emerald, because it's like people are going to say, oh, inflation is coming down. And it's like, well, the prices haven't fucking come down. Yes, inflation is less than it was last year, but it's still fucking expensive when I'm going to the supermarket. And that's obviously how people experience this.
There's only so long that you can convince people just based on like these arbitrary, macroeconomic figures that their lives are better. Until they start looking at their lives and going, actually, no, they're not fucking better. And I think the problem we have in Australia is more that politicians will acknowledge that things are bad and the cost of living is fucked and they won't do anything about it. Yeah. But to imagine, to not even to tell people to their face, you're wrong, your experience is incorrect. That is just going to piss people the fuck off. I'm not surprised they lost, of course.
Yeah, it's just straight up gaslighting, right? I mean, it was crazy to watch it. But the reason I think it happened was because early on, when he was in office and the economy was good, they called it Bidenomics. And when I saw that, I went, "Oh my God, why would you ever tie your name Why would you tie your
like an
name to the
airport
economy?
book.
It's like the dumbest thing. You're tying your name to the economy? The economy, it could totally crash any time. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So I think they couldn't say things aren't good because it's
still
Bidenomics.
Bidenomics.
It was just, I like watching it. You're just like, this isn't smart. What are you doing?
This is your brain on politics. Hey.
And then you've got clips. I mean, Trump is running ads featuring Kamala Harris saying Bidenomics is working. And
and it's not. It's it's the same. It's what you just said was they act like inflation's better, so things are good, but people still know they're paying 30% more. It didn't go down. It didn't go away. We're still paying more for our groceries, and we can see it. I can't tell you, just watching the past 2 years online of people just saying things aren't good and Democrats screaming at them, how damaging that was.
Right, because if you say that, you're helping Trump win. Is that cool.
That's correct. If you say the economy's bad, you're lying and you're helping Trump win. And you're just like, okay, but my favorite place I get lunch at before the pandemic, my favorite meal was chicken kebab plate. It was $8.95. It's $24.95 now.
Fucking hell.
Whoa.
So what is it that say it to me again, that everything's fine and I'm lying.
That's Bidenomics.
Bidenomics, yeah.
We trademark that experience. That's us. So vote for us again, please.
Americans, the Democrats love making this mistake, don't they? It's like the thanks Obama thing. They created their own attack. They're obsessed with themselves, and they have to attach themselves to to these externalities that are going to come back and fuck them in the ass.
It's honestly, you bring that up, and it's the same thing with Obamacare is terrible. I have a family of 3. I pay $1,500 a month. We still have to pay $35 each time we go to the doctor.
Sorry, it took a second for me to actually register that amount. Yep. Okay, go on.
I pay $35 each time I go to the doctor. If I get blood tests or something, like I'm getting my yearly physical tomorrow, my blood test will go off to a lab that isn't covered under my network. So I'll just get another $150 in fees for the tests. If there was a lab technician that also is not in my network, they'll charge me.
Good.
And then me and my wife have to make a run down to Mexico once a month to get drugs for us and our family. That usually runs about $1,000 or so. So for my mom and mother-in-law and stuff, that's a great economy.
Wait, why are you saying this? Why do you hate democracy so much that you're saying this on the podcast right now? Why do you want fascism?
I don't know. I just do.
Sounds to me like someone hates black women.
Yes. Very interesting of a white man to be saying. You want to take away my reproductive rights?
Oh,
that's
cool.
really fucked up.
All right. Let's swing through some other possible explanations that we're seeing flying around in this incredible. Any explanation other than our policies suck and we didn't do anything is getting out there. This made
By
me
the way,
laugh.
that's silver insurance. So there's also gold and there's bronze. So that's the middle one. Anyway, go ahead.
US President Joe Biden has urged Americans to bring down the temperature following Republican Donald Trump's election victory, as some Democrats assign blame to him over the defeat. Hey, man, come on, Jack.
Yeah.
So I didn't do anything wrong. I'm perfect. So the narrative is Biden was going to be a one-term president. The 2022 midterms go well. They're riding high in Bidenomics. Biden says, fuck it, I'm going for another term. Pushes everything out and, of course, takes ages to finally reach the point in which he can't even fucking talk and he needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
With leaving no time for a primary process and all that kind of thing. I mean, is this all Joe Biden's fault in that respect, do you think, Dave?
I mean, I think a lot of it is, but also, there were people around him. So right before he got replaced, a couple months before, I heard a story of a fundraiser out here in LA and my friend was at it. And Obama and I think it was Clooney. No, it wasn't Clooney. It was somebody else. It was a star. Obama and the star. I wish I could remember. I can't remember. I might be able to look it up. But they were leading him around, and he would stop and look at plants, and all of the all of the donors were freaking out because they could see that he literally was not there. But all I took away from that story when I heard it was, so Obama knew. He was walking around with a doddering old man who didn't know what was happening and kept blanking out talking to people at this fundraiser. They all knew. They just thought they could get away with it. And there was no way they were going to get away with it. Those of us who were sending videos of him back and forth of just how he was not there anymore, none of us were surprised by the debate. But liberals were totally they couldn't believe what they were seeing. And we were all like,
that's right, because then they came out and were suddenly like, okay, guys, we need to talk about this. Like, I think they just this is an interesting thing, right? Like, obviously, like, Trump is fucking crazy, and yes, he spews misinformation and whatnot, but I think there's somewhat overcorrection, right, where liberals then just dismiss any critique or even real facts as, oh, it's just fake news from Trump and all of this.
It's called Blue Anon. This
Blue
idea
Anon.
that Blue
Yes,
Anon
it is. It's
and
Blue
Blue
Anon.
MAGA.
We also call it Blue MAGA. That's a really big problem. And exactly what you're talking about is those videos that I was talking about, like, we would send them back and forth. And then you'd go look online and the Democrats would be like, it's just cut together weird. They're just doing this thing. And you're like, no, he's literally staring at a wall. He walked away and stared at a wall. You can't cut that into something. Like, it's just there.
I'm a little bit skeptical of this because, like, I mean, yes, they could have run a better campaign, maybe, but it's even if the Democratic primary process had taken it happened a year ago, it's very, very easy. It's more than likely that they would end up with either Kamala Harris or some other centrist, hollowed out neoliberal candidate who would not be talking about Medicare for all or anything like that. Like, it is just so fucking ingrained in their brains about how much you're prepared to offer to people and how nothing can seriously be challenged. That's so fundamental to the party. Even if there was a left-wing challenger during that primary process, they'd be kneecapped just like Bernie was. Sure.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. And I think a lot of it is a hangover from Reagan. All these people who came up under Reagan or came up under people who came up under Reagan are just scared of their own shadows, and they don't think they can say anything about taking care of people or using taxes for a better purpose or any of those things. So they just jump at their own shadow, and they truly don't believe anybody left of center can win when poll after poll just shows that it would be a wash. Like a leftist would win in a landslide at this point because people are behind all of those policies, but Democrats will never let that person through.
I think it seems to be this self-fulfilling prophecy as well, where they lose and then they go, this is because the American people are stupid and evil. It's not our fault. It's them. They're stupid and evil. So that's why we can't do anything good, because the American people are stupid and evil and they wouldn't like us doing good things. And then they lose because they don't do any good things. And they're like, see, they're stupid and evil.
Yeah,
dude,
that's right.
Quote,
You're
this
totally
is
right.
from MSNBC contributor Jill Filipovich. I think
Yeah,
Filipovich. She tweeted this. In the coming days, there's going to be a lot of opinions about what the Harris campaign did wrong. But this election was not an indictment of Kamala Harris. It was an indictment of America.
Yeah. Good. That'll do it.
That'll win 2028. The problem is you fucking scum. Now vote for us.
Filipovich is fascinating because she truly understands how authoritarian figures rise, but then it comes down to her own politics, and her own politics are just garbage. And you're like, can't you see that? How do you miss? Like, you're so close. You're almost there, and then you just whiff on it. They're all saying that today. And the worst thing about that is it's not just that they blame the dumb. They're also, and Obama straight up just said this. Well, now you get what you get.
Yeah.
You fucked up. Now you get what you get.
Cool.
So they really are okay with the population being punished.
That'll be fine.
There is a extremely dark genre of posts that are doing the rounds now, which is, well, I can't wait for them to turn Gaza into a car park. Good luck with your fucking deportations, Latino people, even though if Latino voters aren't getting deported because they're fucking citizens, like, just truly, it's that scratch a liberal vibe, right? Like this level of commitment to solidarity or care for their fellow citizens is so shallow.
and they just completely refuse to see or admit to their own failures.
And the solidarity thing is huge in this one because, essentially they asked for solidarity on one issue. Right. They came out and said, let's have solidarity around abortion. But you can't have solidarity around thing and not have solidarity for literally anything else. Right. All their healthcare policies are not solidarity. Everything that they do is not solidarity. They went around telling the Palestinians to go screw themselves. This whole campaign is not solidarity except for one thing. And that's not how it works. People aren't going to get on board. A bunch of states voted for it and made it legal through their own referendum and also voted against Kamala.
Yeah.
We mentioned Jill Stein. I mean, yes, I don't know enough about the US Green Party, but yes, there's been critiques left, front and center, but she got 643,000 votes across the country. If everyone who voted for Jill Stein had voted for Kamala, she still would have lost by fucking heaps.
Yeah.
So that's not an explanation.
That was the explanation last time.
I thought this was amazing too. In the New York Times, Matt Bennett, the executive vice president for public affairs at Third Way, a centrist think tank, just those words, said the party had not faced a crisis as severe since the 1980s when Democrats lost 3 straight presidential races in landslides. To regain their grip on power, Democrats must embrace a more moderate approach, he argued. But that will not be easy. Mr. Bennett warned, since the party is facing a leadership vacuum. The one way to beat a right-wing populist is through the centre, Mr. Bennett said. You must become the party that is more pragmatic, reasonable, and more sane. That's where we have to go.
These people are paid to have these opinions.
I mean, it's like I've been saying forever. The best way to beat ideology is with no ideology whatsoever.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But that's what they did with Reagan. So everything you're seeing now is a result of what was known as the DLC. I think it was the Democratic Leadership Council, but it was essentially Clinton and Gore and some other guys got together and said, okay, the reason we lost to Reagan is because of all these left-wing dipshits. So we have to start courting business, corporations, and big money and fight Republicans at their own game. Right. And then the Democrats had held the House of Representatives for, I want to say, like 50 years. And then never again. Then after that, it was over immediately because they got rid of all the union guys were gone. They did NAFTA, which was this giant job killer. And that was it. And now we're still reaping what they did. And now they want to do it again. It's like, no, that's why we're here, guys.
Another amazing insight. I think this is from Magateach again in Jacobin. Harris campaign with I'll try that again. Harris campaigned more with Republican warmonger Liz Cheney than any other ally, and more with billionaire Mark Cuban than with union leader Sean Fain. I mean, we make fun of the idea that Republicans are presenting themselves as the party of the working class at this point, but she didn't get endorsed by any unions, by the Teamsters. Just fucked it across the board, and auto workers came out for Trump pretty massively in Michigan. So that's clearly a factor because they have no class politics.
They have no class politics whatsoever. I think if you live in a bubble and you're in DC or wherever you live, and it's just all of you talking to you, you think like, yeah, no, those people will vote with us because they don't have a choice, and those people are tired of it. Everyone's just done. So when they came out of the gate, they picked Waltz. They immediately started with this, Republicans are weird. Listen to what they're saying. And everybody, centrists, the left was like, yes, let's go. Let's attack them.
Yes.
And it worked for about 2 weeks. Yes. And everyone was just like, yeah. And because they were pointing out everything that J.D. Vance said that is just nuts.
Yes.
Like, he's like, why do women get to go outside? They should be birth channels in the bedroom. Like, just the craziest stuff. And then it stopped. And everyone's like, what happened? 2 things happened. There's a old time Democratic consultant. I think his name is Garland. And he came in and he sat down with Kamala and said, you got to stop being negative. This whole weird thing, lose it. It's bad. No one likes it. You need to start courting Republicans. And then she has a brother-in-law who is, I believe, the chief legal guy at Uber. And he went to her and he said, hey, you're not going to get a lot of CEOs if you keep saying big business is a problem, big rich people are a problem. But if you start saying they're good, the CEOs will come around and they'll start backing you. So that's what she did. And she lost the election.
Opportunity economy, Dave. You could have been living in an opportunity economy, but it all went
CEOs or hundreds of thousands of people.
all right, I could talk to you forever. We're running out of time, but I do want to get to like, okay, what fucking comes next? What can we expect from this Trump administration / unified Republican government? My hope is that we can have faith in the US government's inability to do anything, including provide healthcare to its citizens, but also enact fascism. If the experience of the first Trump, I don't want to minimize how bad this is and how much it sucks, but like the experience of the first Trump term is that there was a whole bunch of evil plans he didn't get to do. There will definitely be massive tax cuts for rich people and the corporations. Inequality will definitely get worse. Everything will get slowly worse over time.
Yes.
But is it fair to say that, you know, the full-blown fascism being rolled out across the board is less likely than not, or more likely than not? I don't know. What do you think?
Fascists love to fight with each other. And I don't think there's a better country set up for fascists to fight with each other than America. Like, I think Elon and Musk and Trump make it like 3 months before those narcissists start attacking each other. And he's like the geek, like it'll be this whole, I don't know. They could, I mean, Steve Bannon is the wild card. That guy's an evil. And honestly, JD Vance, like the problem with this time as compared to last time is now all the Silicon Valley fascists are on board. And those guys are scary and those guys know how to get things done.
That's true.
I think that you will see a massive, if not total destruction of the American government.
Wow. Okay.
Jeez.
I mean, that sounds kind of good. But maybe you don't mean it in that way.
Yes.
I mean, I was driving home today and I was like, well, we actually could see communism in my life.
Acceleration hours.
Like the plan is to just put his idiots in charge of all of the departments. Because last time they weren't ready for it. And now they've been taking applications for 2 years now. So they've got all these really dumb people ready to jump into offices. And the whole reason to go into that office is to just destroy the department that you were. So the Department of Education done, the EPA done. They're going to destroy all of the departments. So we're not going to have any like safety stuff or health is going to be obliterated. Although it was not great. You know, he's going to put RFK Jr. in charge of like vaccines and stuff. It's just like, so I think it'll be really bad. I think that they actually have a plan.
I think that's on his.
Yeah,
really?
Out of water.
Okay, good.
Yeah, they did that in Alberta like a few years ago, and like 700 kids were hospitalized for infections because I guess it's more than just teeth. Like it's just. So I do think actually this time he's going to really be destructive. I think it'll be much worse than last time. Yeah. So sorry about that. But I honestly think the destruction of America is the best thing that could happen to the planet.
Sorry.
Facts. He's spitting facts. Where's the line?
What does this mean for the Australian Greens political party and the Australian political context? I mean, the main, like, I feel like the angle from Australia or from the left on Australia, from the Greens in Australia so far has been cancel AUKUS. That's our relationship to the US, is follow you guys around. You're looking at me confused. You don't know what AUKUS is? The submarines, the $360-something billion submarines that the French are building, and we're in on it together with you guys and the UK. And we think, hey, maybe nuclear submarines is not a good use of $360-something billion. Yeah, but our government's like, no, we want it.
Obviously, yes, we want it. There's been talk that Trump was skeptical of it. He might view it as a bad deal. Lots of people saying that's probably. I mean, you know, I know Trump's fucking loose. Whether he can take on the military-industrial complex and that kind of money to build more weapons, that I'm sure is working out to be a good deal for the US, I'm highly skeptical of. So I don't think that cancelling is going to come from the Trump end. But yes, Oz Greens, who have always been opposed to the project, are saying this is a great excuse for us to cancel this insane deal and spend this money on feeding people.
I don't know if anybody can really predict what Trump will do as far as foreign policy or any of that stuff, because he really only cares about are his hotels making money and like is he going to be able to make money off of it?
So he's not going to want interests in like the military industrial complex. Like, does he have an interest in continuing?
I've never seen any indication of that. I mean, he loved droning things. Like he just went drone bomb crazy.
Oh, not bombing though. Yeah, that's bad.
and that's really a money making thing. That's just like, throwing money in people's pockets and killing humans. But that's really what it's for. So he was definitely behind that. But I think as far as like starting World War III or something like that, I think he would be very averse to that because it would hurt his bank account.
Yeah, that's my understanding is that is what it basically would come down to. So,
yeah, but I think you should. I think you guys are right about that submarine. You should cancel.
Thank you for saying that. Can you let the Australian government know that? Actually,
I will talk to them. The great thing about the Australian government is I look at it and I go, "Oh, look at you guys right behind us." That's so cute. You're doing what we did.
Fucking healthcare, kind of.
For now, yes, you do. But they're gonna come for it.
Yeah.
Oh my god. All right. If you want to hear more from Dave Anthony, and you should, go to the dolloppodcast.com. That's where you have all your Dave Anthony needs. We ask for a call to action in these bleak times as the US government collapses all around us, Dave. What should people be doing? Where should people be sending their time, energy, and money, would you say?
I mean, with everything that's going on in the world, there's one people that have it the worst, and that's Gaza. There's a GoFundMe. There's something called GazaFunds.com, which you're essentially giving it straight to the people who need it. So go there and you can donate to different families and people who can then just take the money directly onto their phones and buy corn for $700.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
We will put that link in the show notes. GazaFunds.com is it?
Thank you very much for talking to us, Dave. Solidarity to you. Best of luck in that wonderful country. I thought last time you were going to move to Ireland or maybe Australia. So
my wife was not allowing it.
Wow. Women are bitches.
Thank you. She's a therapist. She's got like a PhD. So she's like, I'd have to start over again wherever I go. I get it. I totally get it. Fair. Makes sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, next, maybe 2 more years of Trump will be the final.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Maybe we'll never check back in again. What happened to Dave Anthony? He's in a camp.
Thank you, Dave. Take care of yourself with you and your gun. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Come with us as we meet the Prime Minister and the Minister for Education.
Have any of you worked out how much you'll save from this?
$7,000 for me.
$7,000.
$7,000.
What we're doing here applies for people doing vet, people doing uni, and it'll make such a big difference. Thanks for coming in.
Not so sexy. It's your HECS. HECS debt. That's what we're talking about now. All right. Over the last week,
you went to uni, is that right?
I went to university. That's right. A literature minor, and that's how I can come up with this kind of beautiful word journeys. Over the course of the last week or more, sort of started at the beginning of last weekend, the Albanese Labor government has been doing a bit of a push around uni fees, HECS debt, repayments, how much the courses cost, et cetera, et cetera. They announced most significantly, I would say, on, I think, Sunday, that they will forgive 20% of existing HECS debts if they win the next election. Will this be influencing the way you vote, Tom? I forget. Do you have a HECS? I've asked you before, I'm sure. Do you have a debt still?
Well, no, this is very infuriating to everyone, but I dropped out of uni after 6 weeks and I was on a scholarship. So I dropped out, presumably saving Monash University a shitload of money. They didn't have to cover my fucking uni degree. So sorry, fellow student debtors out there, people drowning in student debt. I cannot relate to you, but I stand with you in solidarity, and I think it's fucking bullshit. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes. What do you got?
Yeah, I've got one. Since my income has been going up, I'm paying it off faster, but it's still not fast enough, some would say. Or maybe too quickly, I guess, if you ask the changes to the way that repayments are calculated. So the 20% debt cut is like the headline. That's the biggest kind of measure that everyone's been talking about this week, but this is part of a full suite, this kind of package around higher education fees and costs. The 20% cut that would wipe around $16 billion in student debt for about 3 million Australians. To be clear, this is about debt that exists right now. So whatever point your debt is at, and we can kind of get into this, this is one of the criticisms, is that if you had debt before and you had to pay it all off, that you don't get any benefit for that. It's just whatever your debt is now. If you've got debt in the future, this doesn't really help you. It's just what is on that balance at the moment. 20% will be gone.
Right. So they're not lowering the amount of debt that you go into if you enroll in a university degree in Australia. It is for people who currently hold debt.
Yes.
Here is a bunch of money that you don't have to pay that we're wiping for you. Right.
That's right.
Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing.
And potentially in the future, again, we'll get into this in a bit, but they are hinting at maybe they'll reduce fees so that your debt in the future will be lower.
Right.
But what this is about is just about your current debt. The other thing that they're doing, this is not a major change from existing policy, but they have confirmed or committed to legislate 100,000 fee-free TAFE places per year from 2027. So at the moment, in 2023, they actually funded 180,000. From 2024, they've committed to fund 300,000 over 3 years, so effectively 100,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just where, as I understand it, it's a bunch of qualifications that you can get for free from TAFE based in quote-unquote priority areas that we need people who are qualified in, maybe workforce shortages, and I think that there are like capped numbers so that they don't exceed that certain number of enrollments. So they will legislate to say this is a permanent thing now, ongoing. We're going to make sure those places are available every year. The other thing that they're doing around HECS debt is lifting the minimum repayment threshold from, at the moment, it's your annual income will be about $55,000 before you pay anything. They are proposing to lift it to $67,000 annual income from next financial year. And they are proposing to change how your repayments are calculated to what's called a, quote, marginal repayment system. And this is one of the recommendations of this Universities Accord report thing that came out. What a marginal rate system means is that instead of paying a percentage of your whole income once that threshold is reached, that 55,000 at the moment or 67,000 under the changes, you would instead repay like a sliding scale proportion of your income above a threshold amount, if that makes sense. So it's like how much of the income is above that threshold amount is what's important, not your total income. So
Right.
I think it's meant to be somewhat more progressive. Like it's meant to make more sense in terms of what you're actually able to pay as your income.
Can you just slow down? I'm trying to write all this onto a sign to hold up at my Labor rally party.
Yeah,
so I just
yeah.
want to make sure I've got all the details correct.
This is well, you can understand why 20%, wiping 20% of debt is much nicer. And that's the headline that everyone has been talking about.
Yes.
Fits on a sign, way better. But
You
this
know what's
is
even shorter than that? Wipe student debt.
Wipe student debt.
Is that? Yeah.
Free uni.
Or free uni, yeah. There you go.
Free education. Look, all of this is the full package. This is also in addition to the indexation changes that I think we would have discussed previously on the show, which are, as I understand it, legislations before Parliament at the moment. When passed, that will retrospectively cap indexation on your existing HECS debt from so that it's more in line with the wage price index instead of CPI. So instead of being indexed at 4.7%, it'll be indexed at 4%, backdated to the 1st of June 2023. So that'll save, for me, I calculated I'll probably get apparently about $1,200 cut off my HECS from that. From the 20% cut, I would get about $2,800. That would be nice. Plus, I would pay a bit less if the repayment schedule changes. The average is like $600 a year. I think I might pay like $700 a year less. And it does change a lot depending on what your income is.
Well, this is all great because, student debt really sucks. And whatever Tory assholes introduced student debt and just abandoned the principle of free public education, they're the worst. So I'm really glad that Labor, which is a different party, is coming along to sort of fix this up.
Yeah. No, Tom, I've got some bad news for you.
What?
Well, HECS is a Labor. That's a Labor thing. They did that. It was... Oh, my God. What the hell? Yes, helpful to point out, of course, that Whitlam made uni free, and then Hawke introduced HECS debt.
Mm-hmm.
That was a Labor thing that they did, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't learn from that and do good things now. I'm not going to be like, oh, but you did bad things in the past. I'm going to be like, great, do good things, please. I would like that.
Yes.
I would like it to happen now.
Yep.
Of course, the big critique of this is, oh, you're not doing it now, even though you're in government. You're saying, if you re-elect us,
Yes.
then we may do this.
I'm sorry, has an election been called? Are we rolling out election policies at this point? Is that what's happening? Or is that still, at least, what do we reckon, 5-6 months away at this point?
It's like April to May is basically when it'll be. I mean, it could be at any point, of course, they can call it, but it's most likely to be around April or May. I don't know how I feel about it. Maybe because I am now used to the fixed term system in Queensland where it is so like we know when the election's going to be, and so the campaign does just like we know when it's coming and people kind of start campaigning. So it didn't seem that crazy to me that they would be announcing an election commitment. They did this kind of off the back of an unofficial campaign launch style thing, I think in Adelaide. And they were saying, well, this is our first election commitment. This is the first piece of legislation that we're going to introduce if you re-elect us. But when they are talking about this as like an urgent bit of relief, and especially when they're talking about it as a stopgap measure for further reforms to higher education costs, then it's kind of like, well, if it's so urgent, then you probably should do it now. And this is what the Greens have said. Greens leader Adam Bandt posted on X saying that, quote, people with student debt are hurting. This down payment on wiping all student debt can't be held to ransom until after the next election. The PM says he wants the next government to cut debts, but he could do it now. So today I wrote to the PM offering to pass the cuts this year.
Yeah. Do it now, please.
They probably should just do it now.
We should just do it now. So obviously the Greens policy is to get rid of the HECS system and have free public education from primary through to university and TAFE, higher education generally. We believe education is good and lumping debts onto young people for the crime of learning is bad. But we're saying that we would pass this reduction in the student debt thing if it was brought before the parliament now.
Yeah. Just reiterating that like Labor 100% has the power to do this. The Greens will back it. Why not do? And
presumably they would say, oh, that would endanger our sweet, sweet surplus that we love and treasure, and we want to use this as a campaign policy?
I haven't really seen that, no, because there's this argument around I don't quite understand this, sorry, but even though one of the criticisms is this is so expensive, it's $16 billion in debt that you're wiping, blah, 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 but student debt is like off budget, they call it. It doesn't count towards the budget somehow because they're not considered like because they're expected to be paid back. They're expected to be the government actually making a return on those debts. They do account for the level of debt in every budget and like it affects their total net debt levels. But I think there's some way in which this is categorized that it doesn't affect surplus or deficit in the same way that other things might. But yes, there is obviously a lot of people crying and saying, oh, there was the Peter Van Onselen take was, as he posted on X, I'm sure anyone with HECS debts will love this, of course, but this is just transferring their debt to all taxpayers. What's next? Cutting home mortgage debts? It's so profoundly economically irresponsible, but the opposition will probably match it as a populist gesture. #Ozpoll.
Jesus fucking Christ. Presumably Peter Van Onselen went to uni for free at some point.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, he's also a fucking lecturer at a fucking university. He's looking into the eyes of debt-ridden students every fucking day. And he said, no, you should pay more actually.
And I don't know what his position is on, say, AUKUS or negative gearing or the tax cuts, statutory tax cuts. But in terms of profoundly economically irresponsible things like poor use of money, I would say this is not among my top 3 or even 10 that the government might be doing. I think it's a great,
people no one questions the idea that we should provide public education from prep through to 12, right? And that is a cost well, you know, if you want to get into MMT shit, but it's like, you know, the idea is, of course, that we pay our taxes to fund public services like public education. And then as soon as you turn 18, and then even though people need to go to university to get important qualifications to make the fucking economy run, for God's sakes, people just lose their minds and think it's an indulgence and that nobody should ever, you know, everyone should have to pay their own fucking way at university. It is such an infuriating, complete abandonment of a basic sense of social welfare and public services that even apparently smart people like Peter Van Onselen apparently just is completely immune to, because his neoliberal brain cannot possibly compute it.
No, cannot compute. Yeah, the levels of cognitive dissonance in the response to this are truly remarkable. I mean, the Liberals' response, like the opposition response to this, is basically it's that wiping the debt in particular is unfair for a few reasons. First of all, everyone pays for it. Everyone, you know, the taxpayer pays for it, but only a few benefit. True. Only people who have that existing debt who've been to uni and haven't already paid it off will benefit. They also say it's unfair because people who've, quote, worked hard to repay their debt don't benefit. That is, people who had the income to repay their debt already, they won't get the benefit from it.
Amazing.
And the irony of this, the other point is, but this means that people with higher incomes are likely to benefit more. So it's been described by a few folks, for example, Richard Holden, University of New South Wales economics professor, as a regressive taxation reform, because people in higher paid professions will likely have a higher student debt because their degrees might cost more, for example, medicine. And they're likely to benefit more because they've got a higher debt, but they've also got a higher income. So potentially it deepens inequality because it means, better for the higher income earners. Of course, I didn't hear this concern raised, again, when we're talking about stage 3 tax cuts or any other regressive taxation reforms. Like, the coalition is nowhere to be seen complaining about the unfairness and the economic inequality of it all then, are they?
No, but it's again, people, you know, the left would say free public services, free the point of use public services. If someone gets an education that results in them getting a higher income down the track, then you tax those people at a higher rate through our progressive taxation system. And that way you tax people with more money, whether they've got that from getting a public education and providing good to everybody else, or someone who's just fucking inherited their dad's company or whatever, or is making shitloads of money for whatever reason through a public education system or not. They're earning a certain amount of money, and so you tax them and you take that money and you tax it progressively based on the amount of money that's coming in, not as a fucking burden or a debt based back to the crime of learning stuff, which is good for everyone.
It's good.
Like, it is just across the board. An educated society is a good thing. And yes, that means the arts, for fuck's sake, and history and science, as well as engineering and medicine and, in some instances, law.
Asterisk.
We probably do a few less law graduates, but
we under the Greens, law. The only degree that costs money should be law. Law and economics.
Human rights. The good human rights lawyers are allowed. That's it.
Yeah, you can go to uni for free if you then go work for a CLC. Otherwise, no.
Or for the Greens. They do.
Or for the Greens. We've got a few.
Yeah.
The other thing, I'm interested in your thoughts on this. There's the argument then that changing the repayments, like the what's it called again? The marginal repayment system is bad because it means that a lot of people could end up paying thousands more over their working life or over the life of the debt because they pay it off more slowly. It still gets indexed. The debt goes up and up. And it then takes them, like the example, for example, someone on $70,000, assuming that their income remains flat at $70,000 over this time period, which, you know, somewhat unlikely. But if they did, under the current system, they would pay off their debt in about 15 years. Under the new system, it would take them 50 years to pay it off. So that's an interesting, like, I don't know. What do you think about that?
Oh, I mean, it's bad any way you cut it. I mean,
HECS debt is bad. I guess that's the take, isn't it?
Because, and a lot of people don't consider, again, when I've been into these arguments, you know, on social medias or with people about how shitty the system is, people often disregard the fact that having a shitload of debt against your name, even if it's for a perfectly legitimate accepted reason like university degree, counts against you. Like banks do incorporate that,
True.
do take that into consideration when you're going to buy a house.
Yeah.
It is
It's
real
not-
money
unlike
that's
when
against your
A lot
name.
of us like embarked on a university degree thinking that it wasn't like real debt, but then, oh, it turns out it is. It very much is.
Yeah, which, you know, I mean, it is, you know, yes, there are a bunch of reasons in which it's better debt, it doesn't accrue interest, and it's widely accepted, and people generally think it's good to have a HECS debt if that's given you a university degree that you can then use, or that's perfectly acceptable, I suppose, very normalized across the board at this point. But that still means that it's a economic reality that weighs down on people. And keep in mind that HECS debt, if you don't finish your university degree, your HECS debt isn't wiped. You still have to pay the HECS debt on the stuff that you don't. If you get a university degree and don't get a job in that field, if that university degree doesn't result in your better employment, you still got to pay back the fucking HECS debt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Nothing for free, Tommy. Nothing for free.
Well, I was thinking because I've been like watching some MMT stuff recently, and it's a whole other conversation.
We do get regular. I just want to acknowledge the listeners who regularly message and are like, talk more about MMT. I know we have MMT listeners. I see you. I hear you. Maybe one
You're
day
valid.
we'll do. We have spoken about it before, but look, like.
But I'd like to talk to someone because it does feel like this giant HECS debt could be a good example of like something that the government could say, nah.
Yeah.
And it really wouldn't affect things at all because it's money that we owe to the state, that the government, the currency issuer who creates its own money, there's no interest being accrued on it whatsoever. So it's not like it's a thing that gets a return to the government. We're just paying back exactly the same amount of money in theory.
Indexed, yeah.
Yeah, indexed, but yes, but it's still the same amount, but no interest. So it could be a good example of just a giant bunch of debt money that the government could say, you don't have to pay this back anymore and everything would be fine.
That's right. I mean, and that is, as you say, the position of the Greens. Maureen Faruqi, Greens higher education spokesperson, said, I think this is a good way of putting it, quote, student debt can't be fixed because student debt shouldn't exist. Labor should wipe all student debt. If Anthony Albanese can go to uni for free, so should everyone else. Well said. Well fucking said. That is, that's the overall solution. That's what the Greens are pushing for ultimately. But there are a few other kind of bits and pieces here and there that people have proposed as alternatives or additional things that need to be done on top of this package that the government's announced. Keeping in mind, yes, so I think, as I said, the repayment system changes and the placement payments that the government introduced already and like the changes to indexation, that was all part of that Universities Accord report that was released this year. That report notably didn't include wiping 20% of student debt. That's a government thing. But it did recommend changes to university fee structure, which is the underlying issue. As we said, the reason that people are ending up with these huge mountains of debt in the first place, and particularly those people in courses that were affected by Scott Morrison, LNP government's, quote, job-ready graduates program, where they hiked up the fees for a bunch of courses to try and disincentivize people from taking those courses because arts and humanities are bad. And
unemployable, right? It was a complete reverse of the HECS logic. The HECS logic was you should pay this debt because this thing is going to make you more employable. So now they're saying your arts degree isn't going to make you employable, and so the cost of this degree is gone up.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Yeah. And the fact that people say, like, there is a huge amount of evidence that people don't choose the degree based on how much the courses cost. Like that is not even, it ranks so low in terms of the decision making around this. And that's putting aside, the culture war kind of bullshit about humanities are bad and arts are bad, etc. But the problem is, I think that if you undo those changes altogether, like that did hike up the prices for the costs for some courses, but if you just unwound it, then some degrees like teaching, nursing, etc., or courses would increase. So you can't just say, oh, we're just going to undo that. What the government is proposing, and they did eventually come out this week and say, look, the 20% is a stopgap. That's an interim measure. We are going to seek to establish an independent commission, which would then set course fees based on, the kind of recommendations that were in this Universities Accord report. But there are quite a few people who have pointed out, including the architect of HECS, Bruce Chapman, who is now like, this system is really not working as intended, said that there are these clear fuck-ups like $50,000 arts degrees that could be immediately fixed. You don't need an independent commission to decide that. You can look at this and say, these costs are too expensive. The government should act now and reduce them.
Labor loves a commission.
They
Loves a
love
commission, loves a review.
They love a commission.
Yeah.
Richard Holden, that economics professor who said that this is in large part a regressive taxation reform, also had a choice quote. He said in the ABC, "It's vote buying. It's trying to buy green votes. I don't think it's any more complicated than that."
Thanks, Richard.
Thoughts?
Well, I mean, yes, it's clearly an appeal to young voters, although I guess, HECS debtors are of a variety of different ages and from, stretching out to, because it takes so long for people to pay these things off, there are people in their 40s who would have, still have decent HECS debts that they're still trying to pay off. So, but yeah, a broad electoral appeal to people under 50, I think that's certainly true. And I reckon if I was putting my real cynical political cap on, this would be like a good way to distract from rents, for example, and be like, hey, young people, let's not talk about rents, let's talk about this uni degree thing. Now, again, it would be cool to have more free, safe places. Reducing student debt is generally a good thing. I support that. But yes, the Greens should certainly be saying, once again, this is not good enough. This is a half measure and the Labor isn't going further on this. And we're going after the actual logic behind this whole thing, the actual structural setup, this system which says you should go into debt for the crime of learning stuff about the world. That's wrong. Yeah. We're a rich country. We can do better than this.
Yeah, I think a lot of people obviously pointing out that this is similar to what we saw in Queensland. Like, is this the start of federal Labor taking a Queensland Labor approach and adopting or partially adopting Greens policies right before an election?
Right.
Maureen Faruqi's media releases were, instructive. They were interesting. Like, the initial media release about these indexation reforms said, quote, "The Greens have had legislation sitting in Parliament for 2 years to scrap indexation and raise the repayment threshold, but Labor has been blocking it. What? After years of blocking us, Labor is finally starting to listen to the Greens about the need to address soaring student debt, but it's a small step well below what is needed. This proposal won't shave a cent off your student debt or make university more affordable." That was released like one day before they then said they were going to shave more than 1 cent, 20% off your student debt. And so then her release said, "This is a big win for the Greens and all those in the community who have pleaded and pushed for action to tackle skyrocketing student debt. Our campaign has made this progress socially and politically possible. We've relentlessly pushed the Albanese government to deliver desperately needed student debt relief since they came to power, and the pressure has worked." Pressure works, being the angle. I mean, the thing is, though, I do think they would need to do more than just this promise to pull off the kind of, I guess, the way that Labor was able to reverse some of the fall in their vote in Brisbane in particular, because the cynicism that people are presenting in response to this announcement around wiping student debt feels really familiar. It feels similar to the way that people responded initially to things like 50-cent fares. Like, I know that early in the campaign when we were door knocking, when 50-cent fares would come up, a lot of people were just kind of like, fuck off, like, Labor, you show up now and you try to buy my vote. It's effectively a bribe. And that's how a lot of people are referring to this. But once 50-cent fares were implemented and became a tangible part of your everyday life, that changed. And Labor, I think, should learn from that. If they were smart, they need to actually introduce something first, and then they can pile on promises on top of that, because they need to prove they can do good things first. And Labor did that. They did electricity bill rebates and 50-cent fares first, and then they were like, and also free school meals and free GP visits and a public energy retailer and public powers, petrol stations, and petrol prices are going to be capped, and all of these things, which was like, it did maybe become a little bit much even for the general populace, but they were like, well, they did one thing, so maybe they could do others. So
yeah, because do people trust that the Albanese government would actually do this? I mean, if you actually fucking do it to build the trust, then you've got more legitimacy when you're going to the next election. At the moment, the big problem the Albanese government has is that on cost of living, people do not think they're doing enough. They don't trust them to actually do shit like this.
Yeah.
So you're in government. The election hasn't been called. You're saying this would be a good thing to do. Fucking do it, bro.
Do it. Yeah. If it was smart.
And you can't
blame the Greens for blocking
For
you.
blocking it.
Because we've sent you a little letter and we've said, we'll bloody do it, mate.
That's right. I'm curious, maybe they will be like, look, we floated this and everyone loved it so much. Now we're going to do it. I would be very, very interested to see if they did that. But even if they did that, the thing is, if they're saying this is only going to come into effect at the start of the next financial year, then, yeah, it wouldn't work for the election. They would need to deliver something right now that people can see in their budgets, in their bank account, like in their day-to-day lives.
Right.
We shall see. Well, thank you, friends, for listening to another episode. I felt a little bit silly complaining about my HECS debt after listening to Dave talk about the US system. But anyway, no, that's fine. We're not whingers at all. Look, if you like the show, please remember to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Hit subscribe if you're not already listening. If you're not already subscribed to the podcast, please do that. You can leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever else you listen. You can also follow us on social media at Serious Danger AU on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We post the full video on YouTube. You can see what we look like. Some people like to do that. Also, if you want to come to the live shows, Sydney, there are still tickets, seriousdangerpod.com. That is on the 24th, Sunday, the 24th of November. You can subscribe on Patreon to help keep the show going. It helps pay our producer Mike's wages. All the links, etc., at seriousdangerpod.com.
I don't know if you've seen this. Please give us a 5-star review like Poppy has. 5 stars. Podcast politics in Australia through a left-wing lens. Best left-wing podcast I've found. Wonderful presenters saying it how it is and keeping it real. Emerald Green is an intelligent forward thinker.
Thank you.
Her co-host is pretty easily wound up about the state of the world and is also very funny. If you love Tom Ballard, you'll love this.
True. Look, not the first time someone has called me Emerald Green.
Jim Apple.
Thanks, Poppy.
All right, we'll catch you next week, everyone. Goodbye.
Serious Danger Australia.